Hello and welcome back, everyone. Happy Thursday. Today we are going to be going over Dev Diary 113, as well as at the end of that, we are going to be talking about the delay of Sphere of Influence, which is no longer releasing on May 6th. Instead, it is releasing on June 24th. We got a sad Monday to go along with our Happy Thursday when we got the news on Monday. And so we'll talk a little bit about our thoughts on that at the end of this for the Dev Diary. Now, the Dev Diary is covering diplomatic catalysts, and in it, they do talk a little bit about how the system for diplomacy is pretty opaque now, and how this diplomatic catalyst system helps to fix that, which I think is a huge deal, because I think that I remember when I was first playing the game, the AI seemed very, very, very psychotic in diplomacy. I couldn't make sense of it, initially, and I think it's something that's kind of off-putting to newer players. And looking at this, these do seem like pretty good changes for making the game more accessible, as well as, more immersive, because someone just randomly freaking out and hating you was definitely a feature of the game, produced through the diplomacy system, and this diplomacy system of catalysts seems to change that. And while this may not be something that's like at the forefront of what's going on in terms of your gameplay, in the background, I think this will make the AI behave in a much more coherent way, and so I'm excited to talk about it. Hello and welcome back to another Vic 3 Dev Diary. What the hell is this? Where's our Happy Thursday? Terrible. Maybe we're not allowed to wish a Happy Thursday after the delay. Maybe this is okay. Maybe this Thursday is a medium Thursday. I still like to think of it as a Happy Thursday. Maybe they just misspelled the sentence. Maybe that is supposed to be Happy Thursday, but okay. As we already mentioned, there's some changes in the Dev Diary schedule due to the release of Sphere of Influence Update 1.7 being delayed, which we'll talk about later. So today we'll be talking about diplomatic catalysts instead of the previously planned Great Game Dev Diary. Okay, we will be posting a new Dev Diary schedule as soon as it's finalized, most likely next week. Right then. So let's get at the topic of hand. Diplomatic Catalyst is a new system added in 1.7. The role they play, role play, for the roleplay immersiveness, the Diplo being better, big nice, in creating political lobbies and how they impact how they will have the diplomatic AI act towards other countries. So, what's a diplomatic catalyst? Put simply, a diplomatic catalyst is a type of diplomatic occurrence, positive or negative, between two countries. So it's an event. There are many different types of diplomatic catalysts. Here's a small list of examples. Relations between two countries increased by one full level, for example, cordial to amicable. This is a really big one for me because improving relations didn't seem to really do a lot in general. It seemed to do a little. What it would do is it would change the weighting of your role, which we'll talk about a little bit later in terms of how the internal system worked, but it didn't really feel like it guaranteed you anything. And this being a catalyst, allowing a lobby to form, it seems to be a pretty good thing, because then you can foreign direct invest in the lobby and give the lobby more power. And so I'm hoping that you have a lot more agency in terms of improving diplomatic relations with someone, or keeping someone to be nice with you, I suppose. A subject has their autonomy decreased, as it should. They should be mad about this. Two countries end up in the same side of diplomatic play. Currently, what the metagame involves is a mechanic that I call the yo-yo sway, where what's the strongest thing to do is to join against who you really want to join with. And then they see the huge army on the opposite side, and then you swap back and you can get a really, really strong sway. I'm hoping that there's an inverse of this where you get a pretty significant negative possible catalyst of a creation of a lobby that hates that you joined against them in the play. So UK is putting down a rebellion in Australia. You joined the rebellion in Australia's side for just a moment and then swap back to the UK, and the UK is willing to give you a lot more because they saw that it was really scary. Effectively, what you're doing is you're threatening the UK. I'm hoping that this creates a diplomatic catalyst when you join on the opposite side, such that they'll remember that and be like, yeah, maybe this guy's bad news, instead of what it is now, where you just kind of automatically get to reset attitude just by joining someone in a Diplo play, and you get to reset the attitude to being genial every single time, because you just get to if you join someone on the same side as war, even if you don't do anything in the war. A country reforms their government and becomes significantly ideologically divergent from another country's government. This is a neat one, and it will perhaps give you incentive to not go a particular way. So, for example, if you go laissez-faire earlier, maybe this creates problems going off of monarchy, making all the monarchies mad. Like, this will be exciting if it, makes it so that you are engaging in law passing with diplomatic concerns in mind. A country declares another country their rival. Okay, fair enough. A country breaks off a mutually negotiated diplomatic pact with one another. I think that generally speaking, you don't really want to negotiate diplopacts that you're planning on breaking. But regarding the yo-yo sway, if you have a trade agreement, if you join the play opposite of someone, I think it automatically breaks it, and so you could not, or if you fight against them in a war, it automatically breaks it, and so maybe this is going to make it harder to repair damaged relations if you end up having to break stuff, due to kind of making some money moves, as it were, in terms of foreign policy. Okay. Each type of catalyst may result in the creation of a political lobby in one or both of the countries targeting the other country. This type of lobby and chance for it appears depends on the nature of the catalyst itself, such as whether it's a hostile nature, the diplomatic conditions between the two countries, and whether the overall conditions are suitable for the creation of the lobby. For example, relations increased catalysts will only create pro-country lobbies with an increasingly higher chance to do so as the relations go. So this is a big deal and will give you incentive to maintaining high relations. A big part, or I'm hoping that, so currently the metagame in Victoria 3 is that high infamy is really strong. I don't play that way. I don't like to play that way. I think that high infamy should be punished. In this, whenever you gain infamy, everyone who has an interest in that strategic region, you lose relations with them equal to half the infamy gained. And so it will be hard to have high relations with a bunch of people if you are generating a lot of infamy. I'm hoping that this will kind of help to create a bunch of negative diplomatic catalysts so that you get dogpiled more for going high infamy. We'll see. Conversely, the pact broken catalyst could create both pro and anti lobbies and is more likely to do more likely to do so the more significant the pact broken for the country that had just taken it away from them. So if you break an alliance, there will be a lobby to create an alliance, and there will be a lobby to just like, screw those guys, we're going to take our ball and go home. Okay. Some catalysts, such as ideological differences, can result in the creation of a pro or anti-country lobby. That's interesting. So if we go communist and our friend, who's friendly with us, maybe they create a catalyst to go communist themselves, that would be very interesting. But it says pro or anti-country lobby. Okay. I wonder if it will make it so that... Okay. We'll see. I suppose it's actually probably going to depend on, if you go communist, the trade unionists probably create a pro-country lobby, and the industrialists create an anti-country lobby, something like this. Okay. Of course, this isn't as simple as being a dice roll. The proper conditions must be in place for a lobby to appear to begin with, and there must be at least one non-marginalized interest group interested in joining the lobby. Well, I guess we're not getting a trade unionist lobby then. Additionally, trade unions often do not demarginalize for the AI. Additionally, the calculation for whether the interest group wants to join a lobby or not can depend on the type of catalyst. For example, if the ideological difference catalyst creates a lobby, interest groups calculating their desire to join the lobby will place additional emphasis on their own ideological view of the country in question. So, when you get off of monarchy, everyone who has really strong landowner government, for example, will probably be mad at you. And I think this is really neat, and will also make it so that ideology, ideology is important, which is, I think, going to be an interesting one. It's going to be also cool to see, like, Russia, when the leader of the loud car outside becomes leader of the interest group. The Russian heir is a market liberal. It will be led by the country will be led by a market liberal who's very pro-capitalisty, and if the market liberal landowner is also the leader of the landowner interest group, despite them being landowner and reactionary, they'll be pro-capitalist, but they'll also be anti-liberalism, and so that'll be interesting as well, and probably a common play pattern. And so knowing that, I think that this will maybe lead to much more play in terms of RP, which is generally something I'm less concerned with, but I also think that I'm excited for you getting punished for going high infamy more, which sounds like this is the case. After all, just because a country that's going all in on market liberalism, there we go, has ideologically diverged from your government doesn't mean you're in opposition. Industrialists aren't over the moon about the new policies. Yeah, okay. The signing of a defensive pact between Brazil and USA has resulted in the creation of a powerful pro-American lobby comprised of the industrialists and landowners. Okay, interesting. Right then. It is right, but not as right as wishing us a happy Thursday at the start. Onto the diplomatic AI. And this is probably the interesting meat and potatoes of the things that you may not know about. Since this is a topic we haven't talked about in a while, I thought I'd give a little refresher on how the AI decides its behavior towards other countries, psychopathically, before telling you that about how this decision-making process will change in 1.7. I would like to emphasize, telling you that this is going to change. So what we're about to read, this is not how 1.7 is going to work. It's how it works right now. Fundamentally, the most important factor in how an AI behaves towards another country is their attitude. Right now, you can reset attitudes very aggressively towards countries like Great Britain that have a lot of subjects by just joining on the same side of a play as them. They might be belligerent, they might be, cautious, they might be whatever. If you join on the same side of a play as them, they become genial, basically instantly. This is probably a play pattern that should get punished. There's nothing in this dev diary that suggests that this is going to be changed, but this is the milking and changing attitudes is definitely a play pattern. Attitude is mainly determined by the country's attitude score and strategic desire, which in turn is influenced by their diplomatic strategy and other factors such as journal entries. So their diplomatic strategy, are they defending the borders, are they economic imperialism, etc., these types of things. And then the journal entries, of course, is why, as Mexico, for example, you can never be friends with the USA. Because they'll get a bunch of claims on you, and then they will have, not only in addition to the claims, they will have the Manifest Destiny journal entry, and so it basically makes it impossible, which is why the scripted wars are the AI is super aggressive in terms of resolving its journal entries. And this is kind of the only... They're not very opportunistically aggressive, they're just journal entry aggressive. And I think they should be maybe a little less journal entry aggressive and a little more opportunistically aggressive, but that's kind of a bit of a different thing, because some people like it to follow history really, really well, but like if Mexico has like a defensive pact with the UK and like France, the US should just never dow them, and the US just is sometimes psychotic about declaring war on Mexico when they have no chance of winning. Okay. Confused yet? I am. I'll try and illustrate with an example. If you've ever played... There we go. If you've ever played Mexico, you should be all too familiar with the U.S. aggression. They typically start out as antagonistic towards you. This is an attitude, which they said was the most important thing, towards Mexico, and progress to belligerent after some time has passed, which is another attitude. Though these are both hostile attitudes, they differ considerably in particular in which particular hostile behaviors AI will engage in. Antagonistic will tend to oppose you in diplomatic plays and will use hostile diplomatic actions like rivalry and embargo, but will rarely attack you outright. Even if they do attack, like the loud cars outside, they will be using war goals aimed at weakening you or worse, snatching away your subjects that they have an interest in. They will want to keep you in check, but they don't have any interest in taking your land. Belligerent, on the other hand, is very much interested in taking your land. They may be after a single state or a handful of states, or they may be seeking outright annexation. Regardless, when a belligerent AI comes for a visit, you better hope that that your army and its allies are at the task of seeing them off. So why does the AI pick one over the other? It all comes down to the aforementioned strategic desire, which represents their long-term diplomatic goals towards a particular nation. it's your attitude is influenced by your strategic desire. So even if you do what we mentioned for resetting attitude, always joining a play on the side of the US, the strategic desire is eventually going to kind of win out, but it's going to do it through a random process of rolling, which we're going to get to. The U.S. tends to start with the antagonize strategic desire towards Mexico and change to conquer once they research nationalism and unlock the manifest destiny journal entry. So the journal entry tends to move them to belligerent. If these sound like they line up directly with antagonistic belligerent, it's because they do. In some cases, a strategic desire will translate directly into a particular attitude unless it's offset by the attitude score. A strategic desire, like conquer Mexican dirt, will translate directly into a particular attitude unless it's offset by the attitude score, while in others it's more nuanced. I don't want to go into too much detail on the tangent of attitude score, but I think you could think of the AI as a calculation of whether it's willing to set aside its long-term diplomatic goals for short-term reasons. I.e., we do want to conquer the state from the Ottomans, but we at the moment we need them to protect us against Austria. Okay. Maintain balance of power, and here is one of the, these are the strategic desires here. In here, these are the strategic desires. Oh, I might have misspoke a little bit earlier regarding strategic desires. These are strategic desires. We see plantation economy, promote liberal forms, maintain balance of power. And so these will, for example, defend the borders is very unlikely to want to join customs unions in terms of what it does, but also they're going to affect, the creation of attitudes. Okay. Maintain balance of power is one of the most common diplomatic strategies and has the AI pursue more moderate diplomatic goals, avoiding excess infamy and preferring weakening their rivals to expanding their own borders in most cases. Okay. When the AI is prompted to select a strategic desire towards another country, they look at the pool of available achievable desires and assign them a score, and then select through a random weighted process. And here's where the psychopathy begins, because you can just, roll someone very considerably changing their strategic desires towards you and randomly wanting to conquer something when you've just been buddies for a while. As mentioned above, the diplomatic strategy plays an important role here. Okay, so this is diplomatic strategy. Strategic desire is what they want from you. Okay. A country with the acquire colony strategy needs no particular reason for to select the conquest desire towards an unrecognized target, while a country with defend the borders will only consider picking it to retake lost territories, and even then they're reluctant to do so in an offensive war. Journal entries also factor heavily. They really do. As what we saw in the Manifest Destiny example before, there are, of course, many more factors in how the AI scores different desires. As an example, AI countries tend to pick more hostile desires towards a country going full-on radical leftism if they see themselves are not pursuing a particular path. Which this is completely opaque in game. But yeah, the more you move in this direction, the more aggressive they should be towards you. But this is something that it's super hard to appreciate in game. Okay. And yeah, okay. But enough with long-winded explanations. Let's get to what actually changed in 1.7. I mentioned above that the AI selects their strategic desire when prompted to do so. So this is not its... I hate that strategic is in both the word. Diplomatic strategy is these ones. Strategic desire is what they want in particular from you, which heavily influences their attitude. When you're on the same side of a play, it's always positive genial. You get like plus 1k, and then it will often re-roll other strategic desires so that it stays long-term. AI selects their strategic desire when it's prompted to do so, and here's the crux of the matter. In the current version of the game, the AI uses what you could call a reroll progress bar. For each country, it tracks the progress of said bar, which it slowly increases over time, but can also make larger jumps from certain occurrences, like joining on the same side of a diploplay, such as the countries selecting a new diplomacy strategy, or the two countries suddenly ending up opposed in a play. Essentially, much simpler version of the very catalyst system we're going over in this dev diary. Once the reroll progress hits 100, the AI will reroll its strategic desire. And so it will re-roll all of the things it wants to do, like maybe, let's say, it wants to conquer from you, let's say it views you as military threatening neighbor, these types of things, often with additional weights towards staying the course, particular towards a country they have a long-standing diplomatic pacts with. This may seem like a fairly sensible system, but the problem is that it's entirely opaque to the player. You simply aren't told that your long-standing ally just turned hostile towards you because they had a massive ideological shift in their government or picked up a new journal entry. And this is the crux of the problem, you know? At best, you may get a custom notification that gives you a hint, such as the one for the French borders journal entry. And so, this is the problem, is that sometimes it just feels like you had this friend for the longest time, and then they just randomly decide that they hate you. When this happens, what you do as a player, in terms of the system, is you often just try and find plays, and just join plays on the same side as this person, which will reset the attitude. And in terms of thinking of it through this, I don't know if this is how the mechanic works, but it will help to re-roll the progress bar to reset the attitude, and then you will be on the same side of a Diplo play as them, and the attitude will become good. And so this is kind of how I understand it, but I do not have a full and deep understanding of this system from how the internals work as much as I do from like a feel basis of playing and kind of understanding how to navigate the AI a little bit. Okay, this of course is where the diplomatic catalysts come on. Big nice. As of 1.7, the roll bucket is gone, so much less of this just random nonsense sometimes happening, and replaced with a system of weights that is similar to those used for lobby creation, which allows the AI to adjust its long-term goals in a way that's far less arbitrary, and more importantly, which can be explained to the player. There was a massive lobby that was created, for example, because they shifted to being, laissez-faire while you're on traditionalism, and this lobby wanted to be more aggressive towards the player because of the ideological differences, and this is explained to you. For example, just like different catalysts have different weights and conditions for creating lobbies, the way they potentially alter an AI's Diplo strategy is also tailored to the specific catalyst. Okay. To give an example, country bankrupt is a catalyst trigger for all of a country's diplomatic ties when they go bankrupt. For most AI countries, this is of little significance and won't change the strategic desire they have towards you. But if an AI thinks it's in a position to take advantage of the bankrupt country's momentary weakness, particularly if they are pursuing a strategy of economic imperialism, so if they have this diplomatic strategy of economic imperialism, they will be more likely to jump on you. A recalculation trigger in which the AI picks new desires towards the bankrupt country, that is the things that heavily influence the attitude, will always be more hostile in nature than whatever they've been before. Other catalysts, for example, relations improved, may only ever change if their strategic desire in a friendlier direction. And this is important to emphasize. This will always be more hostile in nature to whatever it is before. So it's not like this reroll bucket, as they called it, where you could just randomly get a nonsensical attitude. This is always moving in a direction that's negative when they can opportunistically jump your bones, right? And then the desire to be friendlier can only move it in a positive direction. And so the ways in which it's re-rolling the attitude is coherent and consistent with the catalyst, the type of catalyst trigger that there is. Now, accruing infamy should make people feel negatively towards you when it's done, and so we'll see how that plays out. Particularly when it's done in an area they have a strategic interest or a diplomatic interest. Diplomatic interest should be more substantive, but okay. By declaring bankruptcy to deal with their crippling debt problems, Ashanti has displayed their weakness to the world and has become a tempting target for Great Britain. You can see it's worsened and is now belligerent. And here, British attitude worsened. This is a pop-up for you, and it's now belligerent, and it happened as a result of Ashanti declaring bankruptcy. This is so much more transparent to the player, and is especially good for new players, right? When and even for veterans and stuff like this as well. But like the AI just seems super psychotic as it is now, and I think it'll be a lot less like this in 1.7, which is something that is not. It's not like a flashy feature, but this is such an important kind of change. So what does this mean? Essentially, what it all boils down to is the AI is now much more transparent and comprehensible in its behavior, and that the diplomatic relationship between two countries will flow more from the actions of those two countries rather than the random reroll bucket. Your AI ally will no longer turn on you because some dice rolls behind the scenes told them to. They will turn on you because you broke a trade agreement they saw as vital, or because you pushed your infamy too far. I really hope that right now, the way it works is kind of, you should view infamy as a resource, and you should try and have it always be decaying, and staying under 25 is preferable for kind of unlocking maximal diplomatic relations with other people, but like, you never want to just roll on 0 infamy. And I'm hoping that they create a situation where staying on 0 infamy is maybe reasonable from like a min-max perspective, but I kind of doubt it. I don't think that's here with what they've said, unless pushing your infamy really rocks the diplomatic boat. Okay. Or because the ideology of your government simply became too incompatible. So it will be really fun to see how much of the time we have this friend, and then we pass multiculturalism, and then they're like, "Yo, we don't abide. No multiculturalism here. We hate you now." And that'll be like transparent to the player rather than just like it's just feeling psychotic. This to me is super exciting. Like the diplomacy being much more transparent. Similarly, befriending an AI is no longer a matter of just keeping relations high and praying for a reroll, a positive reroll. And this is also like, high relations were like never a guarantee of anything before, and they would just like, it would just seem pretty random, and this is an indication of that. Instead, you can actively work to improve their strategic desire and thus attitude towards you by acting in a manner that benefits them, make enemies of their enemies, support them in diplomatic plays, and so on. I hope that they make it so that just joining the side on them, or on the side of a play on them, doesn't just instantly reset it, especially in plays where they don't need your help at all. Like if there's an uprising in the Mosquito Kingdom for like the UK, where they don't even have a single battalion or something like this, and you join to help out the UK shouldn't care. But I don't think that's going to be in, but it should be like that, but we'll see. Even if you miss the notification informing you of an AI change resulting from a new strategic desire, you can always tooltip the attitude of the AI and discover the reason for why they adopted their current strategic desire towards you, which this is also fantastic. They adopted the strategic desire due to increased relations with Joseon, however it's pronounced. You can even use this power to discover why two AI countries are enemies or friends with each other by using the attitude filter in the diplomatic map mode. Fantastic. So everything will be much more transparent. That's all for today. Next week, we'll be switching topics and talking about the side content of Sphere of Influence, starting with the Great Game. See you then. So diplomacy is looking so much better as a result of the catalyst mechanics. Of course, it remains to be seen how well it's implemented in this sort of thing, but very excited about that. That's the diplomacy section. Now, let's talk a little bit about the delay. Okay, Spheres of Influence, not that one. Sphere of Influence got delayed from May 6th to June 24th. And for me, this was really disappointing, not just because I want to play the game, but because like the meta aspect of the YouTube channel and this sort of stuff, it does really well whenever a new update releases, and then following that, viewership tends to trend down for until there's a new release, basically. So it's spike and then lower, spike and then lower, etc. So it was disappointing to me. Kind of sad about it, but I definitely think it's the correct decision, because and I think that a lot of people who've been complaining about stuff being released on buggy on release would be hypocrites to be mad about it. But let's read through this like real quick, and then I'll give some more thoughts. Okay, hello Victorians. This is Martin here with the update of the release of the Sphere of Influence. I noticed he did not He did not wish us a sad Monday. This was on Monday. Okay. A few weeks ago, we announced that we were planning to release the expansion in its coming update on May 6th. Since then, we've unfortunately come to the conclusion that both the update and the expansion need more time for bug fixing and polish. Both the update 1.7 and Sphere of Influence contain several fundamental changes to how the games function, particularly in the revision of the form of building ownership and power blocks, which have resulted in bugs, as well as balance and technical stability issues. Yeah, building ownership revision is a huge thing, and so it's understandable that it changes a bunch of stuff. While we are happy with the features on offer in 1.7 Sphere of Influence, so they're done with the feature work, we simply do not believe that sticking to the original release date will allow us to deliver those features in a polished and balanced state, and we frankly, oh man, you could have the comma before and after frankly. It's just like the emphasis on frankly. This is a matter of speaking, but more so than, and we frankly do not want your enjoyment of the game to be marred by excessive bugginess, crashes, or general lack of polish. We believe that a delay will allow us to release the update expansion in a state that is both we as the developers and you as the players will be much more happy with. The new release date will be Monday the 24th of June. We will be continuously releasing Happy Thursdays up until that point, as there is still quite a lot to cover with both the DLC and the update. We know many of you are eagerly anticipating the expansion and apologize for the extended waiting this will create, but we want Sphere of Influence to meet your expectations, and we want this for this release to be one we can be proud of as the dev team. So, the game's buggy, and they've delayed it. And so, every single release, one of my primary complaints is, I think every single one of the releases has been pretty buggy. And every single release, I have said in response, I wish they just kept this bun in the oven just a while longer, and instead, released it without the bugs, sometime down the road. And I think this is overall better for the health of the game. I, as a player, would prefer just to play through the bugs. But I think it's going to be better for the overall health of the game to have this sort of attitude or this huge shift, because I think a lot of people, or I know that a lot of people, every time there's a release or an update, a lot of people come to play who are not playing the game currently. You can look at the SteamDB numbers, this type of stuff, and then what happens is they run into a bunch of bugs and they're like, oh, just kidding, and then they see their way out. And so I think for the long-term health of the game, it's definitely better if the game's going to be super buggy on release, you just delay it because you want retention of these newer players from a game perspective, and so I definitely think the delay is good. I think that, so here's the thing, is when you're viewing actions, you have to view them with the state of affairs that is what exists like in reality. Let's see, what's the resulted in bugs as well as balance and stability technical issues. This is the reality. They have bugs and balance and stability issues, right? And so while it would be nice for them to release with 0 bugs and balance and stability issues on May 6th, this would be the most preferable thing. That's not the reality we're living in. And so they have to either choose to release the game in a buggy way, or they have to delay the release of the game. If you've been complaining on every release about how it's bugged on release, I don't think you get to complain about the delay. Right, the delay is definitely the in my opinion, what is preferable. So we will see a bunch of people come when Sphere of Influence drops, and hopefully they are met with something that is far less buggy, which I think is better for long-term health of the game. I'm kind of talking in circles around here but that's because it's just, I have a lot of feels about this. It hit me right in the feels when I got the news. I definitely think the action is correct. I think when faced with the reality of bugs as well as a ton of balance and technical stability issues, as they put it, a delay is definitely preferable to just like grip it and rip it and like release it early. And so they're doing what I think is the correct action, even if I'm sad that they're doing it. It was a sad Monday, this Monday. But maybe the real sads are the friends we made along the way, hey? Anyways, this has been the Dev Diary Rundown, and kind of just talking about the news. I want to like talk more about the delay, but like honestly, it's just that they're faced with a problem. They have two decisions. They could release it when they said they would, or they could delay it and fix the problems. Delaying it and fix the problems definitely seems to be the superior course of action. If you're mad that they chose to delay it, I mean, I guess you could be mad that they have bugs, but like that doesn't seem like something you should get mad at someone for. But yeah, so we covered both the diplomacy as well as that. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please feel free to like, comment, subscribe. Do the YouTube algorithm thing. And other than that, have a happy remainder of your Thursday.